We have a very quick scout by the way, in the top right-hand side of Orbital Shipyard, it is no other than, you guessed it, the world champion sOs!
And spawning in the bottom position of Orbital Shipyard, we have representing team MVP is Red Terran Ryung.
Formerly of Team Axiom. Yeah. A very a team that, you know, the foreign community really liked, headed by Total Biscuit and Jenna Bain. Have done a lot for the StarCraft community, and sOs is just.
I did enjoy watching Shoutcraft all the time.
Oh yeah. Total Biscuit is, in my opinion, the best play-by-play commentator out there. My favorite caster to listen to, just as far as cast goes. Maybe not the best game knowledge in the world. Probably not even close to the best game knowledge in the world, but I love listening to him nonetheless.
And build order wise, it seems pretty standard from what we've seen from Ryung. The CC first into the 3 racks, and sOs with the double Nexus after Gateway before Cybercore. This is actually pretty greedy in my books. Wouldn't you say so, Cats?
It's extremely greedy, but at the same time he scouted what Ryung was doing, so he can pretty much anticipate what Ryung can and can't do from this opener. And Ryung has not scouted yet, mind you, so there's no way that he can really punish it blind. Besides, sOs might have been looking at the other series that Ryung played, and know that he's probably not going to be even trying to hit a combat shield timing, but rather a stim timing of this. So this is the problem with repeating the same build on the same map. In a tournament setup like this, especially against a player that's not just as experienced
but
as
the
sOs,
world champion,
but as just as smart as sOs. He's always been one of the most innovative Protoss players, one of the Protoss players that's always been willing to adapt and always been willing to kind of make stuff up on the fly if he needs to. Just a very creative, flexible Protoss player.
I totally agree.
And for those reasons, he is indeed
the world champion. Now, the funny thing is that if Ryung scouted this, he probably could have pushed her up. He probably could have pushed.
Oh no!
The first 3 minutes of the game was literally just on. The camera was just on you guys.
Oh no!
I clicked it and it didn't. I think it clicked my Skype window instead.
Ah,
that is unfortunate.
So,
but we had the production tab.
All the really interesting things that happened.
But we had the production tab, so.
Well, the stream didn't have the production tab. Like.
It was on us.
It was on you. Yeah, it was a radio cast.
Oh, good thing I didn't do anything embarrassing. Like.
That's like my thing right now. Jeez. Thanks, Rob.
Sorry.
It's okay. Well, the start of the game was, you guys, I'm sure, enjoyed the cast so far.
I'm trying to remember what I did. If I did anything like.
It's okay, Taylor. Don't worry about it. Let's just pick up from where we left off.
Alright.
So it was a triple Nexus opener by sOs. I'm sorry about that, guys. And 2 Stalkers denying information here. And I really like the Stalkers because he's anticipating high numbers of Marines. And Stalkers can pretty much kite Marines endlessly until they get stimmed. So basically sOs is saying, with 2 Stalkers out, I'm going to be able to kite you until you get stim. If you attack before stim, then that's my response. If you attack after stim, then I have plenty of time for the 3rd Nexus to kick in and my production to, get into a higher gear.
But yeah, it looks like that sOs is gonna go for that War Prism. Really good idea. Seeing how last time Ryung actually committed a great deal of his troops to the push. So we'll see if he'll be able to get adepts into the base of Ryung. And that's just looking at Twitch the best stream.
The best stream. Shout out to all of you guys for watching, by the way. And yeah, there's the quick War Prism and Double Forge production.
And the Adept upgrade. The Keck upgrade.
The Keck upgrade. You're really delirious, Taylor. You need to carry this cast. It's really important for the integrity of the tournament that we
saw last. Okay, so I guess analysis would say from the last
69
time,
supply for Ryung, by the way. Oh, not anymore. Carry on.
From last time, Ryung actually he powered up on 2 bases before he took his 3rd command center, and I would say this 3rd command center is a little bit quicker than it was. It's funny how he always stems for those observers. even though he probably could have just walked under it. And he always gets that bunker in the high ground, so I guess he just is afraid of dying early on, but he excels in the late game, which we saw him against MC. He did quite well.
And that's just human nature, really, right?
What is?
Being afraid of dying early on.
Yes, that is probably human nature.
Yeah. Templar Archives going down for SOS, and observers being produced. He doesn't want to get surprised by anything. The War Prism getting pushed away, but now going into the Ryung space. Rob the War Prism on the bottom. Yeah, it just gets pushed away again.
There's 2 War Prisms. Or no, was that an Observer? That was an Observer, I think.
No, I think it was a hallucination.
Oh, so he was trying to distract him while getting depths in.
There was no way coming in.
But, you know, Ryung still is worried about this War Prism. It's always out there, and it's always going to be a factor. And actually, SOS is bringing his army, so he might want to try to crack this third base of Ryung before the Liberators come out, which they are. Once again, Ryung is actually going the Liberators after the first 2 medevacs, which is different from before, because he went 4 medevacs instead of the second and third as Liberators. But Liberators are in siege mode right now, and will be pretty hard to actually push up that ramp with the semi-setting and everything, and the second Liberator coming out. I do like this with the War Prism from SOS. He's going to try to pull Ryung apart. Ryung will probably split off his units relatively perfectly, and SOS...
Relatively perfectly for sure. But I mean, the wall up for Ryung is really worth mentioning here. It's really sick what he's doing here. It's gonna work out great against Adept. So even if this Adept gets some of the army of Ryung off position, I don't think that SOS is gonna be able to breach the natural because Ryung has that wall.
Yeah, and honestly, this was just to put Ryung in a defensive state of mind. SOS has already completed his 4th, and he's almost done with Storm. He's starting 2-2. SOS is pretty much just got an advantage in every single way at this point.
And that's just off of the openers, really.
Yeah, off the openers, but you know, as we saw from Ryung, and it was in the last match, he really did well with pulling the Protoss slightly out of position, then stemming up and getting a real nice position, zoning out the army, and yeah, I mean, SOS is going to come in here, see that there's no force, see that the rocks aren't even broken down, and he's going to break it down, and this was what I was thinking the MC would do last time. And by doing this, you actually make it so the Liberators have to come over here, and you can actually juggle between
what a beautiful storm!
Huge storm, turning all of those bio units into tomato bio units, I like to say, because they're all orange, red, and yellow. And with only 2 medevacs...
A little bit more like pepper units, because they're, you know, orange, red, and yellow as opposed to tomatoes, which are usually only red.
Well, you can...
Usually only... I mean, come on, like peppers.
Okay,
just...
well... I mean, Ryung has 2 medevacs right now. He didn't opt for a 3rd and 4th one. He went straight into Liberators for defensive stances. And with only 2 medevacs, every time this Bio Force gets gets hit slightly by a storm or even stems, it's actually doing damage to the army of Ryung without being able to replenish itself. That War Prism actually is going to get hit by Widowmine, and this War Prism might actually go down, ever so slightly. It won't.
Be not deceived, by the way, by the supplies, because Ryung has had a little bit of a supply lead here and there, but that's because SOS is investing so much into upgrades and into production. He's getting even 3 Stargates at the same time as a fleet beacon, so that he can start going into Tempest production. Just to recap, because you guys missed the start of the game, but basically Ryung went for the exact same opener that he did against MC, if you were watching that game, where he went for a command center into 3 barracks. And
SOS
scouted it, and he went for 3 Nexuses.
Before Cybercore.
Yeah. So anticipating that Ryung wasn't going to go for something like a combat shield, for example, timing, but instead stim timing, like he did against MC, he could probably tell that he had a lot of time to work with. And because of that, he just got ahead.
He is the guy with balls of steel. He's taking a 5th on Ryung's side of the map, which is really, really interesting.
Yeah, I haven't seen much of that before. I guess it's just a more aggressive stance.
Yeah.
For SOS.
I mean, Ryung right now has to do something. He has to essentially just push out the win when he does push out, when he's maxed. But it's so hard to do against Tempest Storm. He can't slow siege, he can't leapfrog with Liberators, and he can't stem his whole Bioforce into up a ramp, because it will just get stormed to death.
Most def.
And he scans that, and that's a false sense. He's like, okay, you don't have a fourth base, or you have the other fourth base, but at least you don't have this base. I feel a little bit more safer, but I guaranteed if he scanned, or if he sent units to where the 4th and 5th of SOS's bases were, he would, like, his heart would probably drop.
Look at how safe SOS is playing as well, investing so much into static defense,
The great
realizing
wall of cannons.
Yeah, realizing that gas is his main limiting factor here. He doesn't want to rush into just getting maxed for the sake of getting maxed, because ultimately he would have to end up trading those units, like for example the Zealots, that may not be as supply efficient as other bigger, stronger units like the Tempests, or High Templars for that matter.
Ryung keeps scanning, trying to find this army. I feel like he'd be better off muling the 4th, trying to get that income up until he's actually maxed.
Yeah, but I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that he doesn't see a 4th base, so he's probably concerned about some sort of all-in or something. He knows where the 4th is by SOS.
Where the cannons are, yeah. He scanned that beforehand.
Cool.
Yeah, but really great defense from SOS on that 4th. 1 High Templar with 2 Storms, and all those cannons will probably DPS any, like, a sizable bioforce such as that. But Ryung, he is going to the late game composition, Liberator, Ghost, Bio, and oh wow, SOS is actually making carriers, you know, a very SOS-esque move. Instead of going for Tempest, he'll go for carriers.
I mean, he's already got a bunch of Tempest out.
Yeah, I mean, he's just going to go into Sky Toss, and it's actually, Sky Toss Storm is actually really, really good. And honestly...
I would have thought the Marines are pretty good against
but that's why the Storms
right?
have. That's why the Storms are, because the Storms will just destroy the Marines.
Okay, so it's but they will shoot their own interceptors, right? So that's kind of like in Braveheart there was a there in the battle where the mean king is in Braveheart, he goes like,
he
oh,
shoots
shoot
his own
the
arrows,
and they're like, we'll shoot our own people, and they're like, yeah, but we'll shoot theirs as well.
Too,
Yeah.
But yeah, these Liberators are essentially just getting one-shotted.
Oh my god, a great surround, a great concave by Ryung, getting a full surround, minimizing the damage of the Storms, and is actually able to clear this army or push it away, at least the Tempests. He's gonna have to start Viking production soon, though, if he ever wants to truly get rid of them.
Yeah.
Regardless, such a good engagement by Ryung, just showcasing that he is capable of hanging out with the best.
Essentially, he's prevented mining on this base and forced out actually repairs. And like I said, those cannons with the Storms actually took a big chunk of health away from that Bioforce. And behind this, like, SOS is making... He's had I forget what's the carrier count at right now. It's only at 2 right now. I guess it's not as sizable as you thought, or 3. But he's making 4 at a time, which carriers take forever to make. So Ryung actually has a window.
If he could see the other 2 bases, he would take them down very easily, and perhaps and give himself a pretty good shot at this game. If those bases are left unscathed, then SOS is going to continue to gain the economic lead, and with that he's going to be able to, you know, snowball into victory. But Ryung not really doing much to restrain the economy of SOS. I mean, he has to pretty much guess that SOS has expanded somewhere else, and that's why he's heading towards SOS's, what you would call the natural 4th, but it's just not going to be there. So he's going to have to retreat a lot of his army, and SOS gets a lot of time to continue to build
of High Templar,
the ultimate army. Yeah. Many High Templar.
So I think Ryung, like, obviously doesn't know about these bases, but he's... I mean, he lost his own 4th to the Tempest. So he can only assume that if your opponent's on 3 base and you're on 3 base, that you will have the advantage, because just the amount of army or your composition, as long as you have Ghost, will most likely counter the Protoss army. Because you have Ghost, the EMP, the High Templar, and you have the Bio, which is more mobile. This is a big giveaway.
Yeah.
Ryung should definitely see this. He's gonna chase it just because the natural aggro of the Marine. He's gonna see this, and he's probably gonna be like, "Oh my goodness!" Like, it's been here the whole time. But SOS is already prepping. SOS is actually not maxed out, which is very weird.
Ryung is, however, but he doesn't have any Vikings or anything like that, so he's gonna have to get great EMPs on those Templars, otherwise the Storms are gonna potentially melt his army.
I think it was just that one Storm. He should have. I wish he just sent in more. I mean, he could have known that for sure.
Yeah, he couldn't. The cloud of carriers was
It was too much.
Yeah, it was over the high tempers. If there are high tempers, it's going to be really hard to spot him. And now go the interceptors. Ryung's just going to attack, move, and kill a lot of them.
Actually, I think Ryung
There are
just...
the extra storms, though.
This is close.
It's a pretty close game. Indeed. Quite the epic game. Here comes the carriers once again. And Ryung is just going to have to attack, move, and kill all those interceptors. That's why Marines are so good against carriers. And it's kind of confusing that SOS morphed so many Templars into Archons as opposed to at least
Having
keeping
storms,
a few
like
more. Yes,
a ton of storms would have been amazing right there.
absolutely. And with this, actually, Ryung takes a supply lead.
Yeah.
And SOS is just on 3 base. He really needs to kill and restrain the economy of Ryung, or he's going to be in a lot of trouble. So that's where he's heading over next. Ryung has to be anticipating this, because without this bases, SOS is in a lot of trouble. Ryung just took a decisive engagement against SOS, who, by the way, is banking a lot of gas, and I can only imagine he's going to be warping in Templars, but he's actually having to remake those interceptors, and that's hindering his ability to, spend his gas bank. And those interceptors at this point in time are getting so expensive to replace and so easy to take down by the Marines. SOS using the last bit of his bank to try to take a Nexus and reestablish some semblance of an economy. Right now, he is down to 29 workers. So, in a world of trouble, is the world champion in the first game against formerly of Axiom, now on MVP, Ryung.
Problem with Ryung right now is that he will never have enough Vikings to take down SOS's Sky Army, and if you look at the Sky Army going to Ryung's natural...
It doesn't matter though. If he can keep restraining the economy of Ryung, once he gets rid of the interceptors, then the carriers are a non-factor.
But Ryung's out of position right here.
You think so?
Oh, his army's at the other side of the map.
Good.
So that would mean it's out of position, and all the production's gonna die, which... SOS still has his production. Granted, he has like no minerals, but you don't need minerals for High Templar. They're like, what, 50 minerals, 200 gas or something like that?
They're pretty cheap, yeah. Another good storm by SOS, trying to apply pressure to Ryung so that Ryung desperates and goes for the base trade right now, and that's what's happening. It's gonna be a pretty crazy ending to this already chaotic game.
SOS should have morphed, or should have warped in a bunch of High Templar on the high ground of the main base. If he has any High Templar on the high ground, it would be a great like advantage for him. But like Ryung's pretty much just floating away, and he's gonna go try to kill all the buildings.
Away.
Where's all the buildings at? Oh wow, recall's actually gone down.
Mind you, Ryung has a pretty decent bank to work with right now, and I think he's out of CCs. I'm not sure if he has any. He has 40 SCVs out on the map somewhere. And 2 orbital commands actually still floating around.
Ryung's in actually a winning position here.
Yeah, definitely. The biggest problem for him is he's more supply blocked than SOS is, but with 40 SCVs, he could easily make 3 or 4 supply depots.
Oh, well that orbital.
Yeah, that's not gonna help with the supply block either. So, yeah, Ryung has to be looking to take an engagement here soon, but actually establishing this base of economy will force SOS to take an engagement on Ryung's side of the map. Right now, Ryung trying to take advantage of how open the map is and trying to get fight, but is that gonna be enough?
No,
that's way too many interceptors, I think. And with this, SOS is gonna take a huge lead in this engagement. The carriers are gonna continue on with the chase. I'm not sure if there's enough interceptors. There probably is. Recalling whatever's left of, yeah, really nice.
Just recalling the Tempest against Marauders.
Yeah, because the Tempests are not going to fare well against Marines anyway. So, yeah, I think that's all she wrote for Ryung. All of his supply is in the 38.
Close game.
Very close game, and if I may say so, I think that Ryung was the one coming from a disadvantage just off of build orders. SOS got set up as best and as well as he wanted to. And,
do you think it was a little troll going into carriers?
I'm not sure. You said carriers and stormers are pretty good.
But he morphed a bunch of Archons though at the third, which really confused me. Like, why would you have Archons instead of like?
And maybe a little bit lazy. Maybe he wanted to attack move.
Yeah.
But nonetheless,
yeah.
SOS ends up taking game number 1 against Ryung, an epic first game in the semifinals here of Kings of the Craft.